was the TV show from Sunday. We can go into that if you guys want.
Yeah.
It,
Well,
it
speaking
was
of the
kind
TV
of
show, we should let people know Sunday nights is it 9:30
nope,
for the
8 o'clock.
airtime? 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock is the airtime.
I say one great thing about it being on YouTube and Facebook is personally I'm busy on Sunday night, so I usually watch it Monday. You can watch it anytime.
Right. So Facebook, SICW. You go to Roku, search for the channel SICW. YouTube, of course, SICW All Star Wrestling. There's another way you can watch it too. It's like Tropicana or Tropican.
Yeah,
It's
something weird.
It's a TV program. It's a TV channel that normally comes on. You would see it at if you're in an airplane. Those fancier airplanes that you can watch TV shows or movies.
Yeah.
And then you can see it in the Big Apple, the big screens that have on the Big Apple. It's their programming too that you can see. But yeah, so that's kind of cool too.
Yeah, I want to go to New York just to see us up there.
Right. You imagine taking video of that and having a wrestling show on that. But
now, fair warning, they do have all the old episodes too. So, like in my case, for example, it's on my son's Roku TV, and I walk down the hallway and I hear Travis Cook yelling. That'll ruin your afternoon.
That's true because I went back and watched all the shows that were on there from the Roku channel. But I tell you, YouTube is probably the best way because they go even further back on YouTube. Because there's actually an audience member that would tape them and have his own version of SICW going, and I think that was Explosion. SICW Explosion. But yeah, I mean, Herb has got so many of the shows TV, taped. So many, wrestling at the Chase, and then he also has Dick the Bruiser's catalog. So that is actually he hasn't tapped into it yet, but
I didn't know that one.
Yeah, he's got the whole catalog too, so he can easily tap into that and get another wrestling show just started off of that. Because literally, Dick the Bruiser had his own TV show, his own TV, like the Wrestling at the Chase for St. Louis. He had his own on TV as well, and so Herb actually has the before commercial cut and the commercial cut ones. So, I mean, literally, if you wanted to, you can probably just throw that TV show back on TV and not even do anything with it. Just maybe do a little introduction of, hey, this is what happened in the late 70s up in the Chicago what did he used to run? He used to run Chicago. He used to run Indianapolis. God, I mean, his territory is pretty big too. I think they even ran up into Canada. So I mean, Herb can do what he wants, but he needs to do something with it. He needs to put it on TV or put it on YouTube or something so we can actually see all those matches.
Yeah,
or he can license it to us and we can put it on our channel.
I think he'll try to make some money off of it first. But it'd be kind of cool.
That's where the licensing part comes from.
So, if we go over, gosh, the first match. The first match of the TV show Sunday was Big Nasty Glenn Williams.
With that awesome lariat.
Right, and his awesome lariat. And Bobby's going to help me with this. He went against astonishing Austin
Militalo.
Needless to say, Austin won.
You mean that lariat That lariat didn't knock him out? Didn't bring home
You
the
know,
win?
I watched the match. I didn't see even him. I didn't see him throw a lariat at all. He did a few stomping, where he tried to stomp a mud hole into Austin, and he did a couple chops. But so Austin is a pretty good flyer. And he just bounces from post to post. So I don't think there was no way for Glenn to actually keep up with Austin. And Austin, he's a pretty good hold for hold guy, where he can put some things on you and you don't know how to get out of. And that's what happened. He got the best of Glenn Williams, which
Well, that's what you're gonna have to do to take advantage of Glenn next week. Next week is fly post to post.
Oh yeah. I just think I need to hit him with a lariat and be done.
That probably work too.
Give us a show. Go from rope to rope first.
Oh yeah. I used to do that. I used to get up on the top rope and do drop kicks off the top rope until I happened to break my ankle and break my foot. And now I have a nice little plate on the top of my foot, and then I have like 6 different screws holding the bones together. And now all of a sudden I don't get on the top rope anymore. It's kind of funny how that happens.
And you decided to drop something really heavy on top of that foot while it was healing, too.
Oh, yeah. I did that quite a few times. It was probably the best idea in the world. After that Austin match, they did recap the Flash Flanagan versus Axe match that we initially found out that Kevin Sullivan was behind the whole thing. So they did show that match. And then it was kind of an interesting match because it was like one team was kind of thrown together, but the team of Boomerang, which is a masked wrestler, like a luchador style wrestler, he teamed with a new guy, and I say new guy, just he's new to our area, Cannonball Matthews, which he's kind of a shorter guy, but he's big. So he's short and chubby. I'll just say it. He was short and chubby. But you can tell that he has the high school wrestling background. And that's how he wrestles. Kind of like Bobby. I think Bobby pulls off better moves than this guy. And, he might be new. I don't know how new he is, but he's new to us. He's from southern Missouri area.
As long as he's not getting on all fours in the middle of the ring waiting for that start.
I've seen Bobby do that.
I did that with Superstar C. Now, it was a amateur wrestling challenge when I did that. That wasn't a normal match. However, Superstar C did decide to kick me in the ribs on that. That's another story.
Yeah, it turned into a pro wrestling match pretty quick.
Yeah.
But they went against the LA Hustlers. Now, we talked about the Hustlers last weekend. You got this tall, skinny black guy and this really tall that I have to look up to heavyweight.
He was huge.
Right. And, of course, Lucky P is their manager, so he's always in the corner with the metal briefcase trying to use it whenever he can.
And out of nowhere, he got a big gold chain when he manages them.
Yeah, it's shocking. But needless to say, the team that got thrown together, Boomerang and Cannonball, they didn't last too long with the LA Hustlers. They actually knocked Cannonball out. No, they knocked Boomerang off the ring and double teamed Cannonball. But they did it in a way that the ref didn't see some of their double teaming moves. But it's the double team that led to them pitting Cannonball. So, it's kind of cool that they're able to go out there and wrestle, but when two people are thrown together to wrestle a team that's been together for a while and is established, they know what they're doing, they know what they can get away with and what they can't get away with. When you're just thrown in there, because Boomerang is this like Mexican style lucha libre, and then you got a Cannonball who's supposed to be like collegiate wrestling. It's kind of hard to mix those two together to go against a tag team that's been around for a while.
Well, that synergy just goes a long way. You got to be able to meld. You got to know what your partner's going to do without him saying anything. That's the only real way to be able to watch each other's back.
I agree with that, because that's what me and Gary do. We've been together, not personally as a tag team together, but we've either been against each other or been on the same team, whether it be a 6-man or a tag team, but not as a group until recently when we got put together. We can already tell what the other person's doing, so I think we mesh pretty well. And unfortunately, I think we got the Hustlers going to be coming after us pretty soon, because they keep knocking off some tag teams. Of course, if they keep knocking them off, they're going to be the #1 contenders here pretty soon. So we'll see. Well, me and Jackson will have to keep them on our radar, I guess. See what's going on. So this next match is someone that we should know a lot about. He's got this mohawk. He normally dyes it red. He is currently the Central States champion. Currently the Bruiser Brody Memorial Cup winner. He went against Peyton Aries, which, I don't know. I sent you a picture of Peyton, so you can post that. You can see the difference in height.
Big guest.
Peyton. Peyton normally looks me in the eyes, and so there's a difference between me and Bobby. But Peyton's right up there with me. So, in the back, we always make fun of Peyton. One, because he's on a losing team, because he's on the team Attila. So of course he's on the losing team, so that's horrible for him. But the singlet that he wears, I'm sure it's not supposed to be an arrow, but the design of his singlet pretty much has an arrow going to his Johnson, and so it's just pretty funny.
Hey, and then he was on a TV show with Johnson, Dwayne Johnson.
There you go.
It reminds me of Peter Griffin from Family Guy in his onesie. That's what it reminds me of.
I'll tell you what, my dad, and I still, my dad passed away roughly 5 years ago. But I went through his clothes and I picked out this shirt that was one of my dad's favorite shirts. And literally, it was an arrow pointing down, and on the top it said organ donor. And that was his favorite shirt. And I still have it. It's still folded nicely. No. My dad was a lot skinnier than I am, man. So it'd be like a fat man and a little T-shirt.
Like the blue beanie in ECW?
Right.
Come on, it's your crop top for next podcast.
Well, see, I like this because you can only see from my collar down, basically, so you'll never be able to tell that I'm not wearing it. But anyway, so Bobby was actually able to out-wrestle him, and I don't know if you want to go further into your match. I know what you did.
Yeah, Peyton is a big, strong guy, and just I changed my finisher pretty much every match and hit him with that swinging fisherman neck breaker and kept it into a pin. And really doesn't matter how big you are. If you're on your back, you're the same size as everybody else.
That's true.
Yep.
So needless to say, the winner and still Central State champion Bobby D took that one.
Whipping ass as usual.
What I do. Put in a lot of work to whoop that ass.
Then they actually went to interview with Flash, and Flash was talking about Kevin Sullivan, about bringing it on. You know, if you think this Purple Haze guy can get the victory, let's see him do it. And so, you know, that, like I said, that match is coming up January 14th. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys, because this Andrew Anderson, he is an old school wrestler. And he currently has, you know, Sullivan as his manager. So that match is going to be interesting. If Flash can stay the good character that we all know that he is, or is this Kevin Sullivan guy going to bring out the evil in him and get Flash to turn somehow? I mean, who knows? But it'd be interesting to see this.
I was like, we've all seen the dark side of Flash in the past. Has he put that behind him, or is it going to creep out again?
Yeah. Nate, if you ever get a chance, YouTube Flash Flanagan. There is a match that he had in Puerto Rico. You could tell that it's like a gymnasium style show, and they had a balcony. You know, it's probably 10, 15 feet above the wrestling ring. Well, Flash had this guy on a table on the floor, you know, where the ring would be, and then he went up to this balcony and jumped and missed. So I'm sure some of him caught some of the table, but mainly he caught the floor. And for him to just get up from that, I mean, that's amazing at his own look, because it looked horrible. I mean, that had to hurt.
Oh, absolutely.
Probably took some years off of Flash. But, yeah, you should definitely look that up.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can grab a couple clips for it and post it.
Yeah, because I'm sure it's just public, like, since it's out on YouTube land, I'm sure you can just pull straight off of that. Being like,
Yeah.
I'm
Is
sure.
TNA in existence anymore?
No, not really.
Impact is, but
Yeah, it's called Impact now. TNA was when Jeff Jarrett pretty much all ran it, but it's been gone through so many people, because Dixie Carter basically bought it off of Jeff, and then she ran it into the ground and had to sell it, and now it's like a group that owns it, and they took the TNA part off, and now it's just
they used to do a lot of trading with talent in AAA and Puerto Rico and all kinds. Like, before Dixie Carter got it, like, I used to religiously watch TNA. They had a great product, and you have the World Cup where they had Canada come in, Japan come in, Mexico come in. Like, they did a lot of talent sharing and put on some great matches.
But after that, the classic match. The classic match was so cool this time. It was a shorter match, but when you have King Kong Brody in the match, it becomes a shorter match. Especially, he wrestled a guy named Bill Nixon. Never heard of this guy before. He tried to put up a fight.
Didn't work out so well.
He didn't succeed. I mean, you know how sometimes you can tell the match gets really real, you know, like when you piss someone off and then it becomes really real that you're going to get your ass handed to you. That's how this match went, because you had Bill Nixon fighting back and not really going with the flow, and then you can slowly see Bruiser starting to get pissed and starting to get a little bit more pissed. And then it gets to the point where, King Kong actually tries to pin him and only gets a 1 because he grabs him by the hair and lifts him up. And he does another move, pins him, gets 2, lifts him up. And then you can see the kicks to the head just get a little bit more frequent, and you can tell it's getting a little bit more harder. And then Bruiser can end his match in any old fashion, but to see his, I would say his finisher, but he does it throughout. Sometimes he does it throughout the matches, so you can't really say it's a finisher. But he does this running high knee where he lands his knee on your forehead, and that's how he sealed the victory here. But this Bill Nixon really just took an ass whooping. There's a story that Al Snow tells, and you can find this on YouTube Land as well. But Al Snow tells a story about here in St. Louis, how he was wrestling. He had to wrestle Bruiser Brody, but it was in a tag match. It was actually a 2-on-1. So it was Al Snow and another wrestler versus Brody.
And me and my friend were sitting there, and in walks Abdul the Butcher. And we're like, oh God. And then in walks Bruiser Brody. And like everybody has heard, had stories of Bruiser Brody. Like I had just been in St. Louis, like at the Chase, like a couple weeks prior, and like was talking to some guys, and they were talking about when he had just had a run in St. Louis, and he had went in there and like dropped his knee, did this big knee drop he does for a finish in this guy's chest, like broke his ribs, kicked a guy in the face, and his eye was leaking some kind of fluid. And I was like, oh God, please don't put me with him. Don't put me with him. Hey Al, you and your buddy, you're working with Bruiser Brody in a handicap match. Oh, no. So just like a couple weeks before, I had been at the Chase, like I said, and for whatever reason, I had a match with Chris Irwin, Bill Irwin's brother, who was Scott Irwin, and he was the Super Destroyer. And he took to beating me in the back of the head, like just rabbit punching me in the head repeatedly, to where I was blind in my left eye for about a half an hour, 45 minutes after the match.
Was he the guy that played the Goon in WWE?
That was his brother Bill. So Scott was Super Destroyer. He had passed away. So I don't know what happened, but he would just repeatedly hit me in the back of the head, and I couldn't see, but it came back. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to go out and work with Bruiser Brody and all these stories about Bruiser Brody. And so I go up to him and I go, hey, my name's Al, and he's enormous. And I appreciate it, I just got beat in the back of the head. I couldn't see for half an hour. If you kind of just not, and he goes, just fight back, kid, you'll be all right. I go, oh, okay. So we go out to, have the match. He comes out, hush. And I'm thinking, I just want to be on the ring apron. Oh, guess where I'm at? Bell rings, I'm in the match. Start, and I start fighting back. He beats me all over the head place, but he never touches my head. But he's laying him in, but he's hitting hard in safe places. He's not hurting me or he's not injuring me or anything, but he's hitting me. So, and to be quite honest, it was easier to work with him than it was Ken Patera. You'd wrestle Ken Patera. Ken Patera would farm you so hard, you came back and looked like you'd been fighting with a bear because you had just paw prints all over you. So he throws me over tag. In comes my buddy. My buddy comes in, boom, 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 boom. I'm like, good. He can stand there. He can take the finish because I don't want to take that knee drop because it's, oh my God, he's going to kill me. Throws him over to me. I'm like, shit. I got a tag. Rah, throws me in, I'm bumping for him, I'm fighting back, he's hitting me, he's beating me up, he's never again touching my head. He grabs me by the hair, he walks over, I'm thinking, he's gonna tag me, he's gonna have me tag out. He picks up his leg, literally just picks it up like this, vertical, and kicks straight out and kicks my partner in the face. And my partner's like, ooh, and I'm being held by my hair, and I'm like, fall down. And he's so stunned, he's just hanging on the rope. And Brody goes, huff, and he picks his leg up again. and he just kicks straight out with his heel and kicks him as hard as he can right in the nose. And his nose goes like that. Blood goes everywhere. He shoots off the side of the ring, hits the cement floor on the TV studio, and slides all the way up to the feet of Gene Okerlund. I'm like, he's gonna kill me. Grabs me, picks me up, walks around the ring, slams me, don't move, runs to the corner. It's a 20-foot ring, so you got plenty of time to wait. Comes running, I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, oh Jesus Christ, oh Jesus Christ. Jumps, and I'm not kidding, he looked like he was up in the air, down the knee comes, doesn't touch me. Covers me, count. Thanks, kid.
And, you know, when you're someone of a Brody statue, or status, and you're known for kicking everyone's ass, even if it's a promoter that owes you money, you know, you're gonna kick the promoter's ass too. But so Al was very nervous about wrestling Brody, and evidently his partner wasn't, because Bruiser had told him, you know, just wrestle me, and you know, if you try to do anything stupid, that's basically how you're gonna fuck yourself. And Al was getting his ass handed to him by Brody, but he wasn't doing anything stupid. But when Al was able to tag in his partner would try anything to try to get over on Brody. And so Al said he like stood on the corner on the outside looking in, and just seen the most badass ass whooping being handed out to his partner, because his partner was trying to do everything he could to get at Brody, and Brody wasn't allowing that to happen. And Brody, it was after the match, Al was all bruised up, but his partner was bleeding. And Al stood up and thanked Brody for the match. And Bruiser, I think, actually apologized about Al's partner. You know, but it was just funny that they were all scared of him. But, you know, if you had a wrestling match with them where you didn't try to be stupid, you know, you would actually have a decent match. But, you know, you try to pull one over on Brody, and he's going to let you know that it's not going to work, and then he's going to beat your ass. You know, so if you ever find
that reminds me of another story that I watched on YouTube not too long ago. Someone you guys might have heard of, The Undertaker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, his first match was against Brody, and, you know, he tried to pull some of that dumb stuff, and he said next thing he knew, he took a big old boot to the chest. Straightened him up real quick.
Yeah. So the funny thing about that is he was going to clothesline Brody, and Brody put his foot up in the last minute. He said he didn't even think about a foot coming up in the air, and how fast Brody was able to stick that foot up in the air. You know, but then he took the Undertaker out of the ring, and this was back in the WCCW. So that's another one. You know, the Undertaker started in WCCW, but you know, the old wooden chairs that you know, old school, the schools used to have, and these places, auditoriums would have. The Undertaker talked about how these old school wooden chairs that Bruiser Brody picked one up and just laid it into him. And he said it was like he said it was like a shotgun going off. That once Bruiser hit him in the back, he said it was like a shotgun going off and little pieces of wood going everywhere. Yeah, it was just crazy. I mean, Bruiser's one guy.
Both of you guys have been hit with chairs in the back. Would you prefer the wooden or the metal ones that you guys get hit with now?
Well, I would definitely say the metal chairs, because even though they're metal, they got a little give to them. You know, that metal can bend around your back. That solid old wood, there was no give unless it broke, and it was
Well,
so hard to break
solid
those.
wood was heavier, so it swung faster.
Right. And to show you guys that we're not all just talk, and we're just talking about someone else's organization. That we're part of this organization, and these matches do happen. And
I'm
some
gonna
of
get
these
some
matches,
film of both Bobby and Jem kicking ass and posting it on there with Herb's permission, of course.
right. Once we swerve left, let's bring it back because there's only one more match to this TV show, and it was me and Gary Jackson versus the Intern and Sean Vincent. They actually won where they were considered the #1 contenders. They went and battled a few tag teams, and then they actually won the right to be called the #1 contenders. But we took that right away from them because, me and Gary, we're so much bigger than they are. The Intern is a big dude, but Sean Vincent, he is just all mouth, and he's all talk. He just lost his ambassadorship to Brandon Beretta, who's only been in the business a year. So you can see how Vincent is all talk. So he relied on his intern a lot. And there was one time in the match that they had us in the corners. So where the intern had me pinned up against the corner, and he was smacking me around a little bit, and then Vincent had Gary. And then they kind of flip-flopped where Vincent jumped on me and intern jumped on Gary. So they were going to just whip us into each other. But at the last minute, Gary was actually able to switch the intern around. So when the intern whipped Gary to the middle of the ring, Gary was actually able to turn it around and whip the intern. And I just came full force with my lariat and just knocked the intern out, which was able to give us the victory, give us the pin. And of course, as soon as all this happened, Vincent jumped out of the ring real quick just to get out of the situation, because you had me and Gary in the middle of the ring with the intern laying on his back. But that's how the show went off the air, was our hands getting raised, and Sean Vincent and the intern losing. And like I said, Sean Vincent is all talk anyhow, so there's no way that they even should have been considered the #1 contenders. What I'm waiting for, and this is kind of off subject too, I am waiting for Marlon McDarby and his partner, Sean Soto, to come back. Right now, they're both on the injured reserve, list. And it happened at different times. Sean went out first. I believe he tore a bicep.
He did.
Yeah, and then that left Marler McDarby. Those were a tag team partner, a tag team group. The Professionals is what they were called. And then, so that caused Marler McDarby to tag with someone else and win the tag straps. But me and Gary won it from them. So what I want is just to prove that we're truly the tag team champions. And it might never happen because, like I said, they're injured. But I would like to see both of the Professionals come back from being injured and take on me and Gary. I think that would be a great match.
You gotta watch it. Sean Soto, he gets underrated sometimes, but he's got a lot of that same background as me. I still cross paths with him. We both do the amateur wrestling coaching, and he's got a lot more knowledge than people give him credit for.
Right. Well, I give him credit. That's why I'm saying that I can't wait for those two to get back together, get healthy, to challenge me and Gary, because I think that would be a great, match. and now that we all been tag team champions, I think it'll be a great match to see. Whether it ever happens, who knows? Because you never know when you can come back from injury. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. I've been injured many a times in my career. I've been injured where I couldn't walk. I lost the feeling. Yeah, lost the feeling in my legs for a while. Eventually was able to, get around using crutches and canes and, a walker at some point. But, so I came back from that. Then, I've had the knee operations. Most of my, I've had so many operations on my knee, I couldn't even tell you which one had what. I know one of them has no cartilage in it, and the other one has a bit of cartilage in it. I couldn't tell you which one because they both had the side tendons worked on. Like I was telling you about my foot, having the metal plate in my foot. That would be a loaded boot if I ever can kick that high. And then recently I had a wrestler actually pop my shoulder out. That was probably the most recent one, and that was about 2 years ago. Put me in this one wrestling move, and I was laying on my right side, and my right arm was kind of like, I was laying on my right arm, but it was kind of behind me, and then he had my left arm up high, and he just fell backwards. And the act of him falling backwards and my arm in a straight line just like popped it right out. And I wish I could say that was the first time my shoulder's been popped out of socket, but both of them have been popped out of socket so many times that I can actually, most of the time, I can pop my right one in and out. But the first time I actually realized my shoulder was popped out, I was doing my day job, and one of the coworkers was looking at me, and he goes, you kind of got this like lean to you, like your right shoulder's dipping. And evidently he had his shoulder popped out once before, so he kind of know what to look for. And he goes, let me see your arm. And he'd done this weird move where he put my arm behind me and kind of jolted it up. And I mean, it was so loud, the popping it back in. But I tell you, my arm never felt any better. It felt great. But so, like I said, and the foot injury, that took me out at least a year. And then, of course, when I couldn't feel my legs, that was a little over a year. It was like a year and a half. And even when I did come back from wrestling, I wasn't like wrestling hardcore guys or anything like that. I was, wrestling some guys that I knew I should be able to beat, but they give me a little bit of a test to make sure I can still do this thing. Now, Bobby, I think you got pretty lucky so far, right? You haven't really had...
Yeah, I've been pretty lucky. I've been dealing with a bit of a foot injury since Sandoval. It's more sore than anything. Like, I can't curl my toes on my right foot, but overall, I've been pretty dang lucky. I can't complain.
Yeah, I was about to ask for you to tell everybody about your injuries.
I don't have many. I try to give others injuries. Now, I can tell you from my amateur wrestling days, I still have a bum shoulder. If that counts.
Well,
there's some days
it's a wrestling thing, so yeah.
I say there's days where I go to lay on my side to go to the bed, and it hurts too much to stretch it straight up like that.
Wow. I've actually had Bell's palsy from wrestling as well. One of my concussions, I was suplexing a guy, and his head hit the mat, came back and hit me square in the face in the right side of my eye socket, and like the next day, my face started dropping, and everyone thought I was having a heart attack. Went to the hospital, did all the scans, and they said, you got to have Bell's palsy. because your heart's good. There's nothing, that they can find. There's no clogged arteries or anything like that. But they said, dramatic things happening, like a head hitting your head. And I remember that match. I was knocked out in the ring, and it so happens there was a 6-man tag, and everyone else was wrestling still, and I was knocked out in the ring. And I remember coming to, realizing what I was doing, and then I was able to help finish the match. But like I said, it was the next day that everything started happening. It took a while. I think what it was too is, they say when you're concussed, you shouldn't go to bed. But I think after that match, I think I actually did, shower and then and go to sleep. And I think that's probably what I did. But
now, it was a different time when you had a different attitude. I think you should say who that wrestler was. Wasn't it the guy with the hardest head in the locker room?
So it was actually my tag team partner, Gary Jackson. I suplexed him, and his head hit the mat, come back up, and hit me square in the face. And he was one of my concussions.
Hardest head in the locker room.
Yep. I also say he's got the hardest foot in the locker room too, because when we used to have battle, he wears these motorcycle boots, so they're not really wrestling boots. So when he's kicking you in the face, they put a little extra sting in him. So yeah, hardest head, hardest foot. And anytime that I see a guy that, before we were tag champions together, if I knew a new guy was going against Gary, I would always give him stay away from the right foot. Just give him a little heads up, that, if you stay down long enough, you're going to get a right foot to the skull, and it's going to hurt. So get up and move.
Oh, he don't discriminate. He'll give you a left one, too.
Oh, I'm sure he would. I'm sure he would. But that's all I got. That's all of our upcoming cards. That was the TV program. That was us curving off the left field talking about WCCW. So, I'm all game if you guys want to talk about anything else, but that's all I had planned.
I say, I don't got much, Like I said before, I want to get a list of some of these former Central States champions, go over them sometime, but we'll save that for another night.
I do want to throw a little tidbit that I thought it was funny today. I was reading, of course, about wrestling. And we kind of talked on the subject a little bit last week with the Mandy Rose being fired from WWE for having a little side project that fans could subscribe to. Well, I found out today that this chances are that what was her name? It's Matt Cardona's wife, Chelsea Green. So there's rumors that Chelsea Green is coming back to the WWE, and the reason why the rumor started is because she too had a little side project that fans can't subscribe to that has now been canceled. She ended her thing, and there's already been talks since Triple H, is running things, that Triple H was thinking about bringing her back in and thinking about bringing Matt Cardona back in as well. So this is just a one step forward in that direction. But I just think it's funny how they would let someone go for having that, but would bring someone back in who had it still, but now just canceled it to come back. I mean, what is the difference there? If they're both on the internet and you can see them both doing their thing, why let one go? Who is your current champion? Mandy Rose was the current NXT champion, but bring back Chelsea Green, who really, I don't know how well you pay attention to WWE, because I don't I'll be the first one to admit that the new wrestling scene is not my scene. I'm more of an 80s, 70s, shit, even 60s wrestling, or even you would say the Attitude Era was probably the last era that I was watching current product where I had to be watching every Monday and I had to be watching every Friday and I had to be watching every pay-per-view. I'm not that guy anymore. I couldn't tell you what happened Monday or Tuesday or when is AEW playing or whose pay-per-view is what this weekend. But, big storylines, and I wouldn't say this is a big storyline, but it is like the latest, story that's happening across the internet. But I just
It's
think
an
it's just,
underrated storyline.
well, I don't know if it's underrated either, because the article that I read today said Mandy Rose has made $500,000, $500,000 since she's been fired.
This
then
got some
there was-
publicity for her page.
I just think it's weird too, because the person that actually got her fired supposedly is Shawn Michaels. So supposedly Matt Bloom, who used to be the head of the training facility for NXT, told Shawn Michaels, who is the current head trainer, and when Triple H moved up to dealing with the Raw and SmackDown, he sent Shawn Michaels to run NXT. And, so you have Matt Bloom telling Shawn Michaels about Mandy Rose, and then now she gets fired. But you got Shawn Michaels, like one of the most controversial wrestlers, and he is the one that supposedly got her fired. So, I mean, that's just crazy to me. But
It's all hypocritical. I mean, we can all picture a certain magazine that WWE's put some of their ladies on the cover and centerfolds inside of.
well, for that matter, he was one of those in a centerfold for Playgirl. So it's
And he was
again,
well known for drinking, partying, and doing drugs, and having a lot of women during that time too. So
Well, then he got religious after that.
so all that time beforehand doesn't count.
No, it's all in the past.
All in the past. But I just think it's funny, and I just wanted to bring it up that she got fired over it, but yet they're going to bring someone else back, and she had the same thing going on.
I support independent businesswomen. Let them both get at it. Continue your pages, ladies.
I meant to bring it up. Chelsea Green, when she only had like a year and a half of WWE wrestling, because she would get injured so often that they let her go. And so not that I support Mandy Rose, because I couldn't even tell you how many matches I've ever seen her in, and I don't think I've ever seen a full match. But a current champion versus someone who used to wrestle for you but was frequently hurt, so couldn't wrestle for you, and eventually you let her go because of that problem. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
you have one that did nothing but cost you money because of the insurance, and then you have one that constantly made you money, where she was your champion for over 400 days. So.
Well, see, that's again a thing that, with Nate, no disrespect, there's certain things you probably don't know just because you're not in the wrestling field or anything. There's no freaking insurance in wrestling. Yeah, the wrestlers are independent contractors, so if you get hurt, you're paying for that. Unless you were like the Undertaker when he had to have his knees operated on or his face operated on. I'm sure Vince McMahon opened up his checkbook for that. But when you're just like a Mandy Rose or a Chelsea Green or even the male wrestlers, that if your name is not The Rock or Stone Cold or Shawn Michaels, you're paying for your injury. Even
You
though it
have to
might
be
have
making
happened.
him millions and millions of dollars for him to pay.
Right.
But
Now,
if you
that's
don't own
why.
your, go ahead, I was gonna ask a question. If you don't own your persona, and they do, but you have to wrestle under that and sign a contract stating you can't do other promotions, that kind of takes you out of the independent contractor and makes you an employee. Otherwise, you would own your persona in the
And
WWE and
that's
NXT.
a fight and an argument that's been going around for years and years. You're tied down to that group, but you're technically an independent contractor who's technically an employee. So
So they
it's
say you're playing a
so
character.
yeah, it's so bizarre. You know, some of them, if you're lucky, you get to come in owning your character. If you were like AJ Styles, you know, he's been AJ Styles his whole career, and he just recently, within the last 5 or 6 years, moved up to the WWE. But in NWA, because I first started watching AJ Styles when he was NWA Wildside, is what the TV program was. But he's wrestled for WCW. He's wrestled for TNA. He's wrestled for
Air
Impact.
Styles in WCW.
Yeah, so he's had that name and that moniker. So when he come into WWE, they let him carry on with that name. So he actually owns that name. Um, but unless you're like that, you know, you don't own any of that. And a lot of people had to fight, or a lot of people you would notice when they jump ship from WWE to another place, they'll slightly change the name so it's not the same, but it sounds familiar that you would remember him from that place.
I say the one that always jumps to mind for me is Bubba Ray Dudley, because he had it in WCW and then in WWE and whatnot. But they own that name, so now he wrestles under the Brother Dudley.
I mean,
It's
he
slightly
wrestled for.
changed.
Yeah, I don't remember what his. Was it just Bubba Ray?
Yeah, I say it was just very slightly different
Yeah,
when
it's
he went
just
to
slightly
TNA.
changed. But um, it's just weird. It's a weird concept. But a lot of wrestlers when they retire, they start working behind the scenes, and that's when they start actually working for the company. And that's they do that so they can start getting that health insurance. You know, like Arn Anderson. You know, when he broke his neck and couldn't wrestle anymore, he became a booker for WCW. And he became a road talent or a road agent. And then, you know, technically he was corporate. So that way he was able to get the health insurance and get, you know, whatever he needed fixed. Even in WWE, they do that. What was the guy from Eminem?
Joey Mercury.
Joey Mercury, yeah, he broke his face in a ladder match.
I guess that's the best way to describe it. He broke his
Yeah,
face.
he broke his face.
It was stitches from here all the way down here.
Yeah, and you know, so he quit wrestling, and then they moved him in the role of a road agent. So he's still in the WWE, and he's still getting paid by them, but he's on the corporate side of things. So technically, he is an employee. He's not a talent. It's a weird thing, but it happens. Sometimes you have like those once in a blue moon things where someone will open the door, like AEW will bring in people from another promotion. You know, he started doing promotions with Impact. But other than that, you're an employee of them and you can't wrestle anywhere else, but yet you're an independent contractor. It's a weird thing. Well, I guess it's getting about that time.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm gonna say, at least for the Big Texan, I know I look a little different, all shaved and pretty. But I'm gonna say goodnight, and I guess you guys can say goodnight as well, and we'll meet up again next Wednesday.
Well,
Yep.
good night and Merry Christmas to everybody watching out there.
Oh, yeah, Merry
Hear that.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
All right.
And,
Well, then we will talk to you later, and thanks for tuning in to the Squared Ring. We'll come together. We come together every Wednesday night. This normally gets put on YouTube sometime Thursday morning. So we'll see you Thursday morning.